Morning, guys. Friday, 7th of August, Aussie 200. Just opened up here, selling off in pre-market. NFP day, NFPs tonight on the US. Nothing compelling from my point of view on the open, really, that I can see. You can play around, obviously, with NFP day. Starting to have a look now at pre-market sell-offs Fridays. They a negative lead on Friday and sell off in pre-market, see if anything kind of jumps out there. Kind of a bearish lean most of the time. That first hour looks kind of pivotal as normal. A lot of single digits to highs for the falls and the lows there. Interesting here. 10 out of 12 have hit at least 20 points to lows. So that's, something like that is a setup that I kind of can latch onto. Not that I'm just going to blindly trade it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if we don't rally from open, if it's not going to be one of these kind of two occurrences, it's likely going to be one of these, and we're going to hit at least 20 points lower, right? And once you kind of hit that, then you really struggle to kind of finish the day in the positive. So that's kind of my thought process, assuming this pre-market kind of finishes 10 points or more lower. So about a minute to go here. Going to be down at least 15 points in the pre-market. So I'm just going to do the usual entries on the other side here just to get a sense of what the market's kind of doing. I'm open here in the direction that we're likely to be trading in. I would think, though, that with this pre-market, given the size of it, potentially we do see a little spike, but quite compelling, those kind of Friday figures in terms of a move lower. So I might actually just move that. That was too slow. It's going to take the entry a little bit closer today because, as I was saying, what I'm looking at here are other days when on a Friday, when we've that pre-market, there's been a real risk off in the pre-market following a kind of a negative lead overnight. And if it doesn't kind of rally from open here, as I said, you got 20 plus points to low historically. So that's kind of why I tightened this up a little bit, because once it kind of breaches this point here, historically we're looking at least 20 points to lows, which looks like we're about to, let's take a little bit off at that 20 point mark if we get there. But yeah, so that's kind of the thought process there, is that we'll get rid of that as well. That's the thought process there, that once that breaks that kind of 5 point mark, you can kind of, in my head, I'm basically ruling out that it's going to be one of these 2 days. And therefore we're looking at one of these days in likelihood, which is fairly bearish. So we missed that by about a point. We'll see if we get there. Regardless, it's kind of broken through that 15 point mark, which is, my kind of line in the sand in terms of a directional move. So you can see that the buy has failed here. The sell's also failed just in terms of the US, but I'd probably argue, for me, this is a more stronger kind of hard fail than the US move. So I'm currently long the US. That's just a pretty speculative long position given NFP tonight, tight stops, and then short the Aussie based on that setup that I've been mentioning. All right, so we've hit that 20 point mark. So that played out quite well in terms of what we were expecting it to. And as usual, you can start maybe clipping every 5 points if you want, or kind of whatever suits your trading style. But for me, I want to be mostly out at 40 points. If we hit that, you could probably take, we got a round number there, so might be worthwhile just setting your exits just above that round number. Seems to play out that way, bounce off those numbers quite a lot. I'll just get rid of that take profit. I'll take 10 if we get there, just above that round number, and then leave the rest as runners. So now I guess I'm thinking, all right, I've got my bias, I've got my trade on. Based on this setup here, what's going to invalidate it? Okay, so what for me, looking at this, would invalidate it is a break of that first 15-minute highs. So once it breaks that kind of kills my hopes of, significant falls here or, decent end of day finishes. So, we've bounced quite a lot here. I'll wait the 10-15 out and then stops above highs. So I might actually add a little bit back in here, given we've got this large bounce. And then 10-15, I'll put stops above the highs here, and happy to kind of stop out and take my medicine if it's going to be a bit of a reversal bounce day. See that on Fridays, just had an alert there as well pop up in Mosaic that on Fridays, when we have a negative lead, about 2 in 10 will reach 40 points to highs, and 3 in 10 will reach 40 points to lows for the day. So that's, a coin flip that we're going to hit 40 points in one direction or another, but it's actually 50% more likely that it's going to be to the downside than the upside on Fridays historically. So just gives a little bit more confidence, I suppose, when the market's playing out like this to kind of hold position. Pick a little bit more here. So until the 10-15, I'm just going to set my stops at 10 points above, because as we kind of saw, all those falls were single digits or less. So once it hits that double digits to highs, that's where I just call it a day, because obviously those negative moves are unlikely to play out. So again, the good thing about the data is that for me, there's not really any emotion that comes into it. Like, even though we've had 20, 30 point rally off the lows, until these single digits to highs are kind of breached, or the 10-15 is breached, there's nothing that's kind of knocking out the potential that today is going to finish lower, is what I've been basing my trading on. Whereas, historically, you'd see this and get pretty excited that perhaps we keep going higher, and we may well still go higher, but until, as I said, that double digits or 10-15 high is breached, there's no reason for me to kind of switch bias or close out positions. Just going back to what I was speaking about before, in terms of large moves, it'd be interesting to see here on Fridays, once we breach, say, that 20 points to lows, what proportion of days hit 40 points or more higher. And it's 3 out of 136. Okay, so again, this does not mean that the market won't go higher, finish higher, anything like that. But for me, that 40-point mark is what I'm kind of targeting. I want to be trading 40-point rallies and 40-point falls. So for me, that initial move lower, pretty much kills the probability that we're going to get that 40-point move higher. So therefore, I'm trading whatever's left over, which is the potential 40 points to lows is still in play. So we're just coming up to 10-15 now. I'm going to tighten these around here. I'm expecting it stopped out. You never know your luck in a big city. I'd even take a little bit more here, just because now my risk is quite small. I know it's 10 points. Potential downside is the 40 points that I've been looking for. So happy to pile on a bit more risk there now that I've got that risk really well maintained. US is also really starting to pull back, looks like it. So you can see that the sell has now failed on that first 15 minutes, but the US anchor is now passing. So not overly a compelling day, to be honest. So given that both of my playbooks have failed. So I will keep holding short, but confidence has probably fallen a little bit as to what it could be. Also looks like yesterday was about the 5th day in the past month or so where we didn't have a strong move into close yesterday. This kind of flatline heading into close Thursday afternoon. So that doesn't kind of surprise me that today is, the first day in a long time where we just haven't rocketed from open. That's I've said this quite a few times, but that's what I really look for in terms of trading volatility the next day. When you get some large moves into close, or either a rally or a fall into close, that shows to me that there's some unfinished business that needs to be carried over at the open the next day. So that's really what I look for in terms of getting those one-way directional moves strongly at open. You can see that we kind of did have that for a little bit this morning, but now it's flatlining back around open. A little longer than I'd like to stay around on the screens today, but as we come up to 10:30, pretty clear for me. Stops above the highs, take profits around that round number, around the 9,200 and below, and we'll see what happens with NFP tonight.